නේද?
අපේ දරු පරම්පරාවටවත් වග්ගඩු අමාරු නැතුව ජීවත් වෙන්න වාසනාව ලැබුණා.
A drinking water project by Gammadda for the people of Kadurupitiya in Mahavilakshya.
Gammadda, for the people, by the people, with the people.
Hello there, greetings from Colombo everybody. It's 30 minutes past 12 and this is Lunchtime News, coming to you live and direct from the Newsfirst studios here in Colombo. Let's first take a look at the headlines this afternoon.
Will there be power cuts in the coming days? Health officials encourage booster vaccine as protection against Omicron variant. Farmers continue to demand for compensation. Multiple protests across the country.
Let's start off with our top story that more than 5 million people in Sri Lanka have now received the booster COVID-19 vaccine. 30,253 people had received it yesterday. The Health Ministry is now encouraging people to obtain the booster vaccine as the Omicron variant continues to spread.
රෝගීන් අතර යම් ප්‍රතිශතයක් වෙනදට වඩා වැඩි ප්‍රතිශතයක් ඉන්නවා රෝග ලක්ෂණ නැතුව හෝ.
There are infected people with very little symptoms or no symptoms compared to the past. We don't know how the impact it can have if a person is infected by this. What is important is to follow health guidelines and to obtain vaccines. There are two benefits of receiving the booster vaccine. The first, it will develop the immunity of the person. Even if a person is infected, it will not have major complications. By obtaining a booster vaccine, we expect the virulence of the virus transmitted by an infected person would be low.
ඒ පුද්ගලයා විසින් පරිසරයට මුදා හරින වෛරස් ප්‍රමාණය යම් අඩුවක් බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා.
Sri Lanka recorded more than 900 COVID-19 cases yesterday. 927 infections were detected yesterday, including those of 5 people who returned from overseas. The country has recorded 604,581 cases in total. Official figures indicate that 15,346 people have died, while 576,781 have recovered. The number of infected people under treatment is 12,454.
This virus is rapidly spreading in schools. We cannot always keep our children indoors. We have to send them to school. And schools have been reopened with strict adherence to health guidelines. However, it is shockingly surprising that parents are reluctant to guide their children. I made my child take the vaccine against COVID-19. I urge all parents who have not yet inoculated their children with a COVID-19 vaccine to consider doing it as soon as possible. Even the people who have taken the booster shot can test positive. However, it is just a short-term throat pain and cough. Nothing serious to be worried about.
People assume that taking the first 2 doses of the COVID-19 vaccine is sufficient to protect them from contracting the virus. However, that is a misconception. Several myths regarding the vaccine have been created in the society, such as side effects being reported due to the vaccine or infertility being a side effect. However, we have not received such reports so far. Now, Denmark's health minister has said the BA2 Omicron subvariant appears to be more contagious than the BA1 variant. He made these remarks during a national address yesterday. Denmark's health minister said there is no evidence that the BA2 variant causes more disease, but it must be more contagious. The BA1 lineage currently accounts for 98% of all cases globally, but in Denmark has been pushed aside by BA2, which became the dominant strain in the second week of January. Denmark's top infectious disease authority has said preliminary calculations suggest BA2 could be 1.5 times more infectious than BA1. However, an initial analysis by the institute showed no difference in the risk of hospitalization for BA2 compared to BA1. Let's now take a look at a story that made headlines this afternoon. The Public Utilities Commission says it will decide today on granting permission to impose power cuts in the coming days. The Commission said there was no need to impose power cuts until today after the situation was reviewed on Tuesday. Today we will reach a decision on whether power cuts should be imposed in the coming days after considering the current electricity demand and whether the power plants can generate it. We will reach a decision before this evening. The Ceylon Petroleum Corporation says it will provide fuel to the CEB for the next 10 days. Its chairman Sumit Wijaysinghe has said furnace oil will be provided to the Sapugaskanda power plant.
Let's now take a look at some stories coming in from rural Sri Lanka. Farmers in Anuradhapura, they are accusing the government of not paying them compensation for 5 years.
Farmers in Anuradhapura say their harvests have been affected for 3 seasons within the last 5 years. However, they say that authorities have not compensated them for the lost harvests. 180 families across 8 villages had engaged in farming near the Yan Oya. Farmers in Sri Lanka who supply food to the country are spending their nights in fear. They spend nights on treetops or shacks to guard their crops from wild elephant attacks. Distressed farmers in the Mahavali Sea Zone engaged in a satyagraha for the 3rd day in Dehiyattakandiya today. They are seeking compensation for the damaged crops, pensions for farmers and also a solution to the fertilizer crisis.
On a similar note, farmers in Kanda Katia are saying they have not been able to reap a good harvest, although they cultivated by following the government's guidelines.
Farmers in Kanda Katia say they usually reap a good harvest after months of cultivation. The government had continuously urged farmers to move to organic farming this cultivation season. As a result, farmers say there are more weeds than crops in their fields. Chena cultivation lands in Megahena in Mahayanganaya are also now barren. Corn farmers have now resorted to daily wage labour to make ends meet. Farmers who cultivated corn have not been able to reap a good harvest. However, they are not eligible to obtain compensation from the government. State Minister Thenuka Vidanagamage has requested the Agriculture Minister to grant compensation to farmers who cultivate corn.
අපි වගේ දිස්ත්‍රික්ක වල ගොවි ජනතාවත් ඒ වගේම ඉරුඟු වගා කරන ජනතාවත් විශාල ප්‍රමාණයක් ඉන්නවා.
There are many farmers who cultivate corn. Their lives would be successful only if they reap a good harvest. As a government MP, I am requesting the Agriculture Minister to provide compensation not just for the paddy farmers but for corn farmers as well, after discussing with the President and the Finance Minister to resolve the problem.
ඒ ජනතාවට ඒ සහනය ලබා දෙන්න අවශ්‍ය වැඩපිළිවෙල සකස් කරලා දෙනවා නම් වඩාත්ම සුදුසුයි කියලා යෝජනාවක් අපිත් කරනවා.
The government recently announced that they would compensate paddy farmers who reaped a poor harvest this season. But now opposition members are demanding the government to compensate farmers who cultivated other crops apart from paddy as well.
You're talking about providing compensation for paddy farmers. When the ban of chemical fertilizer came into effect, did the government provide chemical fertilizer to cinnamon planters, tea cultivators and farmers who cultivate vegetables and fruits? Just as compensation is being provided to paddy farmers, other farmers including tea and cinnamon cultivators don't visit the village after providing compensation to only paddy farmers. The government tried to stir up various reasons and ban chemical fertilizer imports as a temporary solution to the shortage of dollars. They paid a compensation of $6.9 million to the ship carrying waste from China. Now the government has to print money and provide compensation to farmers. They created a non-existent problem. As a result of poor management, the government has left the people in trouble and standing in queues after depriving the country of dollars and leaving farmers in trouble while leaving the people in hunger.
මිනිස්සු බඩගින්න ඉන්න තැනකට පත් කරගෙන පෝලිම් වල නතර කළා කරදර ගොඩක දාලා තියෙන මේ ආණ්ඩුව.
දැන් මේ සහල් කාබනික පොහොර යොදාපු සහල්ද ඔබ චීනෙන් ගේන්නේ.
Are they importing organic rice from China? Are they importing rice cultivated using organic fertilizer from India? Are they importing organic rice from Pakistan? Is the rice imported from Myanmar organic? We wish to ask the doctors who came before the media and voiced their support for the government as to whether eating the rice won't cause kidney diseases. Express your views on this.
සවුත් වෙන්නේ නැද්ද? මේ සහල් කෑවහම වක්ගඩුව සවුත් වෙන්නේ නැද්ද? ප්‍රකාශ කරන්න ඔබේ අදහස.
Meanwhile, farmers of Valsapugala are continuing their satyagraha for the 38th consecutive day. They are requesting solutions to the issues caused by wild elephants who destroy their crops. Farmers are requesting authorities to implement the gazette on establishing a wild elephant management reserve.
ආණ්ඩුවේ කවුරුවක් මෙතෙක් වෙනකන් ඇවිල්ලා බැලුවේ නැහැ බලධාරීන්ට කියන්නේ කටයුත්ත බලලා අපිට මේක ඉක්මන් කරලා සකස් කර දෙන්න කියලා.
Well, farmers continue to face several problems. Now, several protests were staged across the country today, demanding a solution to the issues faced by the people.
The Frontline Socialist Party staged a protest opposing the economic crisis and the government's poor administration. The party had organized a vehicle rally in Bulletin and also distributed leaflets among the people. We are trying to find a solution to the issues that the people are facing by building a broad people's movement and establishing confidence among them on their strength. The solution to all these problems lies with the people's movement and the unity of people who feel that a solution must be found. Meanwhile, the Inland Revenue Trade Union staged a protest opposite the Inland Revenue Department today. They are opposing the loss in tax revenue due to amendments to the tax policy and the presence of inefficient officials in the Treasury.
Now, Environment Minister Mahinda Amaravira has cited the conduct of politicians as a reason for Sri Lanka to be listed among countries in terms of rising corruption.
මම දැක්ක අද පත්තර කියවනකොට ඊයේ අද දවස්වල කිව්වා දූෂිත රටවල් අතර අපි 102ට ආවා කියලා.
I saw that the country is ranked 102nd among countries in terms of corruption. It's not something that we can be happy about. We must regret that. Anyone must be punished if they engage in corruption, regardless of their status, even if they are politicians. This situation occurred after 1977. This country did not use other countries as an example. Let's consider the government that was in power from 1970 to 1977. During Sirimava's government, a dollar was trading at 9 rupees. When she handed over power, the dollar was trading at about 7 rupees.
In rest
of the day's stories this afternoon, the Daya Weta Singha Memorial Oration was held in Colombo yesterday. The event was organized by the Lanka Japan Friendship Society.
The event was held under the theme, The Ease of Doing Business. Japanese Ambassador to Sri Lanka, Michikoshi Hideaki, graced the event.
It is none other than the firm presence of mutual trust and respect that I believe lays a solid foundation in doing business with ease. Upon the 70th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between Japan and Sri Lanka, my embassy, in closest collaboration with LJFS, is preparing to further promote our bond of friendship, anchored in unwavering mutual confidence that both countries have been fostering since the awakening of our relations.
The oration was delivered by the past president of the Bar Association of Sri Lanka, President's Council Upul Jayasuriya.
Within a month, BOI terminates more than 10 to 15 agreements every month. Approve the projects that come to your doorstep. I know we are spending a lot of time in going around the world, inviting the investors to come to Sri Lanka. But there are people, investors who come to Sri Lanka and then keep knocking on our door. But we don't. We do turn a deaf ear to them. There should be a deemed approval process under the BOI law. If not for which, and in that deemed approval process, if the project is not approved within 24 hours, it must be referred to the board of directors. The board of directors can't do it, then they must take it to the cabinet of ministers.
A three-wheel had fallen about 20 meters off a precipice in Hatton this morning. However, no one was injured in the incident.
A three-wheeler had fallen about 20 meters off a precipice in Hatton at around 7:30 this morning. Police said the three-wheeler had fallen off the precipice after the driver had lost control due to speeding. The driver and the passengers were not injured, although the three-wheeler had been damaged in the fall.
In a story making global headlines, the US has rejected Russia's demand to bar Ukraine from NATO amidst warnings that Russia might invade its neighbor. US Secretary of State Anthony Blinken was giving Russia a formal response to its demands to resolve the Ukraine crisis.
Anthony Blinken gave no concessions but said that he was offering Russia a serious diplomatic path forward should Russia choose it. A Russian minister said his country would study Blinken's response, delivered in coordination with NATO. Russia had issued a written list of its concerns about the expansion of the NATO military alliance and related security issues. Among them was a demand for NATO to rule out the possibility of Ukraine and others ever joining the alliance. Meanwhile, the US State Department said that Secretary of State Anthony Blinken spoke to Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi about Ukraine yesterday, highlighting global security and the economic risks that could stem from further Russian aggression. Russia had been amassing large numbers of troops on the Ukraine border, something which Western countries have seen as preparation for a possible invasion. However, Russia denies this.
Right, in your sporting news now, Sri Lanka will face Afghanistan in the quarter-finals of the ICC Under-19 Cricket World Cup today. Right, and that's a wrap of Lunchtime News. Thanks for stopping by. Don't forget that a comprehensive update of these stories and more will follow on our website. www.newsfirst.lk is the address. More news will come your way at 1:55. Bye for now.